That's the reason. Well, welcome to the Brannigan Podcast, episode 18. We're focusing on social media analytics. Yeah, I'm your host, Jasmine Spalding, and I'm here with Lauren Olson and Grace Gregg. How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's Monday, 4:00, so I'm a little tired, and the work isn't done. So it's just one of those days.
Right.
We can all relate.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys are going to talk to us about social media and your latest presentation to our team. So for those who might be new listeners, welcome. But also at Brannigan, we do bi-weekly presentations within our staff meetings. It's always focused around a topic that our team is excited about or, finds useful for our industry. So you guys happen to focus on social media. So tell us why you went with that topic.
Well, I guess to start off, Lauren and I have been working on the social team since both of us started for a while now. And we realized that we wanted to give some insight to the rest of the team who maybe doesn't do as much work with the social team or see the strategy behind any of it. So we wanted to give them some insight as to why we pull them into things and why we're doing what we're doing. And also just show some really nice analytics on how we have improved our social media over the years. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah.
I think sometimes social media can seem kind of fluffy to people.
Mm-hmm. So
it's good to show people that there's a reason that we do it.
Yeah. Do you guys still think that, obviously people in our profession, especially the generation that grew up with a computer and internet and all that good stuff, do you think there's still companies or people out there who don't value or don't understand the value of social media, unfortunately?
Yeah, and I think the problem with it is that you can't necessarily boil down whether it's benefiting a business to a number. And maybe that's why people have a problem with it. They just see the number of followers or likes and they don't know necessarily how to derive value from that. So
Yeah,
I agree.
Mhm.
I think we were even struggling with that, with we had all of these numbers on, okay, this is how we've improved impressions and, things like that. But it's like, okay, what's going to really express how we how we've made an impact, and does any of it matter? What actually matters here? And that was something that I think we struggled with.
I think it's hard too if you don't necessarily sell a product to for social media, you're not doing it for consumers necessarily. We're business to business mostly. So I feel like that's a little bit harder to boil it down to okay, well, we're not trying to sell a product to people, but then what are we trying to get across to them too? So I feel like showing the value in that is just an extra challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring it back. Let's start from basics. What is a strategy and why is that important for social?
Well, I guess big picture wise, if you talk about our strategy that we took, and we did talk about in our presentation, was about a year and a half ago. We were kind of all over the place with social media. We had all of our platforms.
What platforms were those?
We had Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I think that's all.
Yeah.
But we were kind of posting on all of them. We weren't necessarily owning any of them. / we just didn't have time for it, I suppose. So we all talked as a team and decided it would be best with the time we had and based on who we wanted to target to just focus on our Instagram and really improve how or our content that we were posting there, engaging with our followers, increasing our following, all of that stuff. So then that was a success. And since we've kind of taken it a few steps further and applied that to all of our platforms across the board, that's more big picture.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think going from there too, it was just deciding what our goal was with it and what we wanted to do with social media. And that's kind of how we decided that we wanted to focus more on Instagram.
And why? So you are saying you decided on Instagram as the main platform, or at least the first one to start implementing the strategy. So what was the reason behind that? Or was there any, or was it just because you prefer it?
I guess the big thing was who we wanted to target, and that being potential employees, potential clients, all of those things. Also friends of BC, and everybody for the most part we thought was on Instagram and was engaging with it.
And to prove your point, when I was interviewing here, I did use, or, when I look at any place, I look at their social just to see what kind of content they put out there. And that was Brannigan's Instagram was one that I noticed and I liked, and it kind of gave me an insight into the culture, the people. So you start to kind of recognize faces, as creepy as that is, before you're even, at a place, but it does work because it worked for me.
Yeah,
that's good. And I feel like that another thing too, just as to why we picked Instagram, is because it shows the company culture. And it kind of is all tied together. If we want new employees to be able to see us on Instagram, they can see the culture, they can get more comfortable with us, they can know what we're all about before they even come here. So it's a good way to do that with pictures.
Yeah. So what kind of material or what kind of content have you seen that has been the most successful for Brannigan?
Well, dogs always do well.
Puppies, animals.
That's been one across the board. But actually, Lauren and I were just talking about this earlier today. We posted the small walkie thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of you listeners missed it, but last week we posted kind of a little our definition of what small walkie means and encouraged people to share their stories of connections throughout the city with us. So we have some plans to do things with those stories in the future. But surprisingly enough, that photo got a ton of likes, way more compared to our average of other photos. And I feel like it's probably because maybe hashtags, maybe the combination of the fact that it was on our story and on our page. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard to boil it down. I think it could be that it was on both. I think it could also be, I feel like the content that does really well is focused on the community or people on a deeper level, because I feel like lots of our Milwaukee content has gotten a lot of attention, and also our Humans of BC series, which is modeled after Humans of New York. So I feel like people just like to see things about their own community, and they like to see things that go beneath the surface. They like to see what people are all about. That's typically what we've seen do better.
Yeah. So going to hashtags, Grace, you mentioned something about hashtags. So is there a limit to how many hashtags a post gets? Because sometimes I see there's 1 to 5 hashtags, and then you mostly see this in the influencer world where it's their copy, and then below it's just a bajillion hashtags. And I mean, is it just kind of plug and play and see what lands? Do you find that helpful, or what is BC's approach to hashtags?
Well, personally, I don't love the bazillion hashtags. It's just to get your content in front of anybody who's going to see it. If it's a photo of a sunset and it's hashtag dog, that has no relevancy to your photo. So what we've focused on doing is there are different like followings to each hashtag, different sizes. So we mainly will try to do at least one large following, one medium, and one small following for hashtags. So like hashtag dog would be over like millions. Hashtag something a little bit more local. I don't know, like hashtag I love dogs maybe is not going to have as much. And then hashtag Milwaukee dogs is going to have the least amount. So we don't use those hashtags for the record.
Like
but
super specific ones, like Milwaukee.
the dog ones I was talking about, like we don't, I was just using those as examples. They'll be more specific to whatever content we're posting. But yeah, that's typically, as long as we can get, one of each. So maybe that's 3, maybe that's less than 10. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like you don't ever want to have too many, because unless your goal is to just get as many likes as possible, which there should always be more of a goal than that, I feel like you should always be thinking when you're making hashtags or thinking of hashtags about who do you want to see it, because someone just double tapping a picture doesn't necessarily mean that they're influenced by your photo, like, or they're going to take the next step with whatever you're posting. So I feel like you want a hashtag to draw in people who can get something out of what you're posting. You don't want to just send it to everyone and their mother.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, sometimes I'll be like mindlessly scrolling and like I double tap things. And I literally sometimes have to go back and be like, wait, what was that? Because it's such a bad habit that I have, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. But yeah, so going back to numbers, if you have a giant following or a giant, like a good amount of likes on a photo, that doesn't always necessarily translate to results, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So with BC Social, what is your approach to developing a strategy? Like, I know you guys do, because you guys have a weekly meeting and you guys are always like asking, for us to like participate in things, and you guys are always like around the office, like taking photos and things like that. But what is like your planning process for that? Is there like a theme that you guys follow, like a monthly thing? Like, give me the deets.
One of the bigger things that we do for strategy is we have a content calendar that we update weekly. But beyond that, about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, we did some digging, and we kind of came up with like a pool of hashtags that we can pull from that are good to, use on those photos, and also keeping in mind to always be engaging with our followers. What do you think, Lauren?
Like we said before, we want to just focus on showing our company culture to potential clients, potential employees, and just making ourselves known as a business in the Milwaukee area. So I feel like our content, we always try to reflect that.
I actually had a question for Jasmine.
Yes.
You were asking us about some posts that do well, and I was wondering if you had specifically any favorite little campaigns or series that we do on our page.
So obviously Humans of BC was what caught my attention when like looking at local businesses in town and communication organizations. So that was definitely one of them that I enjoyed. Obviously, animals are always great. So giving like shout outs to like, obviously when we incorporate like our podcast on there, it's a different platform to share like 2 different initiatives. But I also like the quotes. They're not Humans of BC, but they're just like additional quotes like Skylar, why she likes to be a graphic designer, things like that. And I mean, usually you guys are always really creative with like the colors and like staying consistent with your color scheme, and like using the same like copy and text and things like that. But also I really like the black and white photos that we do, just like spontaneously.
Break it up.
Yeah, it breaks it up. They're all really good. I enjoy them a lot.
I feel like that is one big part of our strategy that we have tried really hard to keep consistent. this past year is staying on brand, and I feel like we want to reflect how Brannigan actually is with the bright colors and the friendly vibe you get when you look at it. And I feel like that's actually really accurate. You come in here, everyone's really friendly, and it's like a family-oriented place.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want there to be like this moody feeling to the photos, because then that wouldn't be accurate of who we are.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I can see like the fun, like the laughter, like the hard work, but also like the coffee tasting that we did a couple weeks ago. And another thing that I was going to mention that flew out of my head that I will not remember.
Not your mouth, your head.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said, no. You said it flew out of your head and you wish it flew out of your mouth,
yes,
right?
That's exactly what I meant. I can't remember what it was, clearly. Shoot, maybe it'll come back to me later. We shall see. But yeah, those are... Oh, I remember now. So this past summer, we did the, like, this or that. I liked it because it was interactive, and I got to express my thoughts and opinions with my following or whatever. And just, like, being able to, like... come up with those is kind of fun, like watching you guys brainstorm and stuff. But also it's very on trend, I guess you can say sometimes too.
Yeah, that was fun. I feel like we got a lot of engagement with our followers on that. So whether you work at BC or not.
Yeah. Like anyone could like pick or choose what they prefer. So
yeah, when they're a relatable topic, it's kind of fun for everybody to participate. So
yeah. Fun. So obviously you guys have your own social media accounts. Do you guys have a strategy for your own platforms, or is it just like whatever you post, like you don't think about it, like you do that for a job, like you don't really care, or do you take those tips and tricks that you get like from working and apply them to your own social outlets? If you're willing to share.
Yeah. I would say for my own personal account, I really don't use any of that strategy. Because I feel like it's more on just like on a fly when I feel like posting a photo or something. However, I do have an account for my cat, Scooter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it has been dormant for a while because I just haven't had time. And I got another cat after, like, you know, in the middle of while I was making it, I wanted to introduce her right and just never got around to it. But I guess at the peak of that, I was really definitely using like those hashtag things that we were talking about earlier, the aesthetic of the whole page, giving the page a character. Like, you know, for us, it's obviously company and it's like culture and happy and stuff, right? For my cat, I gave him more of like a 7-year-old boy voice kind of thing, right? And everything's coming from him and his perspective. And he got into the cookies again. And oh God, you know, mom's mad kind of thing.
Super cute. Well, we also have Lux, Lux, the lab, right? She follow her. I'm sure you can find her, but like her page is very like pink and white and like very, very golden, girly lab. Yeah, it's really cute. But that's a good example.
It's super fitting. And I remember Skylar was like, she also had Lux's page at the, you know, going at the same time as when we were talking about a lot of these things. And she would share things that would work. Like her dog was basically an influencer. She was getting like paid to make, I don't know, these bandana things. It was a whole, but like, it was cool. She'd promote them and stuff. It was Lux is famous. It's fine.
Any strategy behind your end?
I think it's kind of hard to have a full-on strategy if you don't have like a goal behind the fact of
you mean you don't have like content calendars for every month?
You'd be surprised, right? I feel like it could be a generational thing though. Like I like to have a similar color scheme, but I'm not going to lose my mind if one doesn't fit, I guess. And that's just like personal preference. But I know I hear, what would it be? Gen Xers or Gen Zers?
Oh.
I'm really bad at this.
Like college,
It's
high
not
school
Gen
age
X,
kids.
it's Gen Z. Gen X is the generation above us.
Okay. Gen Zers. I hear them talking about like how they plan out their captions and
It's a lot of work.
if something doesn't fit in their feed, they delete it, or if it doesn't get enough likes, they delete it. Very cutthroat.
Yeah, they're in high school.
Yeah, it is a full-time job. So
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that could be a thing that is changing
That's
with
wild.
more people's
Yeah.
personal feeds, but who knows? And I'm not sure why that's a generational thing.
Well, I think the fact that there's so much possibility behind social and Instagram and paid campaigns and influencers, I think it just opens up a whole new field for young kids or young adults to like dive into. And like we didn't have that. Like I remember the day that Instagram launched and like it was a topic of discussion because we're like, well, what is it? Like you just put photos, like people were like, well, that's stupid. Like that's never gonna work. And like now looking at it now, it's like it definitely worked because no matter what new thing comes about, like there's always a way to like make profit off of that.
Yeah.
Crazy, but I remember that day so vividly in my head.
No, I agree. Like we did not grow up with influencers being a time like right when we get, Instagram. So it just wasn't in our heads. And then on top of it, I remember having the same thought, Jasmine, of being like, this is like Facebook, but less.
Yeah, but with photos. Yeah.
Yeah, but just photos. And I was very confused as well. So it's funny how far it's come.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like you didn't, like we just thought it was for photos and for us, and now it's just like
it's a whole
this
nother
whole business scheme, right? Yeah. So I feel like maybe there's just an expectation to be
You're the best version of yourself. on there.
yeah, because it's been around for some people's whole lives practically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's totally sidebar, but I was up late one night and I was just on Instagram and I came across, so Gabrielle Union has a baby with Dwayne Wade, right? Dwayne Wade? I can't remember. He's a retired basketball player.
From Marquette?
Anyways, yes,
From
from Marquette. So
Yes.
yes, look at that, full circle. Anyways, their baby has like an Instagram page and it has like millions of followers, like literally the baby. Like obviously it's run by both of them, but it's like, can you imagine if there was an account of all like baby photos of you when you were, isn't that wild?
Yes,
like
that
you're gonna be
is
able to
wild.
go back and like look at this and be like, cool.
I know.
That's me in a diaper and it has a bajillion likes.
And I know moms and dads who have created just like a unique hashtag
Yeah.
for their babies. Like some of my coworkers, I remember when I was in high school, were doing it because the hashtag was available, right? And so they were like, so they can look back at the hashtag and see their whole life in photos, which is just so nuts to think about. Like
Yeah.
if you just look at your hashtag,
Yeah.
all your photos are there from your whole life. Ugh, it's
I don't know if
amazing.
that's good or bad. I wish I
don't
had more
know.
photos,
I don't
but then
know.
at the same time, I'm glad that they're in a photo book in my mom's closet
Yeah.
that no one can see.
Yeah.
The embarrassing ones.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I suppose, but I
It's
don't know.
wild.
I think it's cool. And
Anyways, reeling it back in to social media analysis and strategy. You guys have been doing this obviously for a good chunk of time while you're here at BC, but like what is there any advice that you would give to either students or young professionals who are either looking to get into like a social media role or they just want to study that in school and are still trying to figure out their next step? Like, do you have any words of wisdom or like resources to check out or any tips and tricks about like how to be better at social media? That was a big question, so I apologize.
I feel like if you're curious about something, social media is something that's always changing. So there's not like a textbook that you can look at or I just feel like it's something that like if you have a question about something, look it up right then and there and find out more about it so that you know what you're doing down the line.
I didn't take any social media classes during my undergrad. I kind of just always like enjoyed finding, I don't know, I think to social media, there is a strategy that you can even be doing without noticing that you're doing. Like just what kind of content is going to capture the audience and what's going to make you stand out when there's so much content out there. So I think having that mindset, first of all, like helps, but then you can always be expanding that by just, like looking at Instagram or Facebook or whatever's doing well, and then seeing how you can maybe take your own unique spin on it.
What about like social scheduling platforms? Is that something that you guys were able to just adapt real easily, or is that something that you learned in school? Or
I learned that in internships that I had, not necessarily school, but I feel like it's pretty straightforward for the most part. If you're familiar with the social media platform, you can figure out the scheduling platform as well.
Well, are there any final words of wisdom or anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to include?
I don't know. I guess I would always just encourage everyone to be creative and just keep doing you, and don't get morphed into whatever is doing well on social media. Just post what you want to post.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway, because going back to talking about personal social media, I feel like you should be able to just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what other people are thinking necessarily. When it comes to business social media strategy, though, don't get too caught up in how many likes something is getting, because there's probably more value that you can find from that. Even if something isn't going to be the most liked photo that you've ever posted for something at work, you could still influence a few people to pick up the phone and call your business or whatnot. So I was just thinking about the different ways that social media can bring value to your business is valuable. So
good. Those are good words to end on. If you want to see what Lauren and Grace put on Brannigan Social, you can always find us on Instagram at Brannigan Communications. And to listen to this episode and many more, you can check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks, Jasmine.
thank you.